You know when your customers are shopping at your business and they pick up a product? The customer holds it, feels it, and shows it to their friend. Then they look at the price tag.
Oh my, I need to look at something else.
The customer picks up a second item and loves the way it looks. They've heard of this product, but haven't yet seen it in person.
I've got to have this.
You're happy the customer chose to buy a product, but you're equally frustrated that they didn't buy both items.
I want them both.
The Consumer Experience Lab at Barbera Solutions designs behavioral strategies that target the consumer's decision-making process. BarberaSolutions.com. Because the opposite of rational is not irrational. BARBERA Solutions.com. Why is the shopping cart always in the top right of the screen?
How do companies predict my purchases?
Why do prices end in 9?
Why do fast food companies use red and yellow in their logos?
Why do restaurants always have one expensive menu item?
Researchers, marketers, and very curious people seek the answers for how we make decisions and how we choose products. Clicksuasion finds the secrets that companies use and shares them with you.
Why do I feel better when I bought the last remaining airline ticket?
How do I make choices based on colors and fonts?
Welcome to Clicksuasion. This is your host, Michael Barbera. We're here today with our guest, Zoe Chance. Zoe helps good people increase their influence so they can do better. Zoe teaches interpersonal influence at Yale, consults with Fortune 500 firms, and leading nonprofits and keynotes internationally. Zoe researches key sources of well-being like finding love, making healthy choices, and giving back to others. This work has been published in top academic journals, covered in media outlets like the Harvard Business Review, The Economist, and the BBC. Google uses her behavioral economic framework to help people eat healthier by accident. I need some more of that. Prior to Yale, Zoe marketed Barbies with Mattel, earned a doctorate from Harvard, and acted on stage and film. Zoe, welcome to Clicksuasion.
Thank you so much, Michael. Really happy to be here.
So I'm going to go a little off topic. Tell me some of this. Tell me some background information with your stage and film experience.
When I was a little kid, I was so shy and also I was such a nerd that I had this deep belief and fear that the frequency of my voice was the same frequency as the ambient sounds of the atmosphere, because I would speak and people couldn't hear me. And I didn't understand I was actually just talking too quietly because I was so shy. But in order to overcome my shyness, I started doing some theater, taking acting classes, going to camp, and then eventually doing stage and film. And even so through college and after, doing community and regional theater and doing some movies. And my high and low point was starring in a really, really, really embarrassing karate movie that ran for 5 years late night on Showtime. It's called Tiger Street, and thank God it is not available online.
So I see here that you recently taught women how to flirt at a retreat for the School for Womanly Arts. Could you share some information?
Sure. The School for Womanly Arts is a really, really fun women's empowerment seminar and community that was created by Regina Thomashauer, and she has a book out right now called Pussy, which came out coincidentally right when Donald Trump was getting busted for saying that. So her book has done really well. And she has this idea that women's empowerment should be really fun and pleasurable. And it's crazy that that would be a revolutionary idea. But Michael, you would never have been to, well, probably not been to many feminist gatherings, but they can be really a drag, and you can get lots of angry people complaining. And the School for Womanly Arts is a lot of really happy women having a great time and exploring their femininity. So I got to come to a workshop in Miami and teach some women how to flirt and get out there and practice with men, and they had a blast.
That's super interesting. And yes, you're right. I have my experience with events involving feminism is limited. So a small portion of your research involves virtual dating. I'm really curious to start with to ask you, how did you come across this topic, or where did your interest come from?
We were curious about what they would think and feel about the people that they had interacted with virtually and the people that they had looked at their profile and had some familiarity, and the people who were new. And what you all know already from reading the paper is that they liked the people better after having a sample of this virtual experience with them.
So in the paper titled, People Are Experience Goods, Improving Online Dating with Virtual Dates, it's mentioned that there are search goods and experience goods, and you mentioned that humans are experience goods. Can you elaborate on the difference or define what a search good is and what an experience good may be?
Yeah. A search good is a product that you could search for by objective attributes and figure out that it's going to be exactly what you want. Like if you are buying a laptop, you know how much money you want to pay, size is going to be an issue, resolution of the screen, how much memory it has, and you don't probably need to experience the laptop in order to figure out if it's going to be a good product for you. But an experience like a human being that you might go on a date with, or potentially just a book or a movie, even if you read a lot of reviews about it, and even if you find out objective information like the length of the movie and the genre or the number of pages in the book and what type of stories it tells, you're not going to know whether this is the right movie or book for you until you start to read the book or until you see a trailer of the movie or you actually go experience it. And what we realized in online dating is that even though human beings that we're going to go out with and have as a date or boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, it's really about the experience. And what we really care about is how we feel with that person and how that person interacts with us. And these are things we can't find on a typical online dating site like, say Match or OkCupid or eHarmony, where you have lists of, okay, this person is this tall and lives in this city and likes this type of music and this is their religion and this is their income level. So we end up searching for people online in those traditional platforms in this objective, rational, logical, list-checking way that's just not helpful at all for figuring out who we're actually going to like and enjoy spending time with.
In the article, it was mentioned that once the two individuals met, they started asking those same search questions about religion, income, etc. Is it possible that if we were to reverse this or attempt the virtual dating, that the human behavior would just regress back to search, search attributes?
That's an interesting question. And these are things that people care about, right? Like, for example, if your religion is important to you or if your atheism is important to you, it's a big deal to have somebody that doesn't share that. But a lot of what we're looking for are values. So, for instance, when we look for somebody who has a certain level of education, we're looking for somebody who cares about that thing that we care about, or the same thing with religion, with values similar to ours. And we think that we care a lot more than we do, ultimately, about a lot of these objective characteristics like, say, height or income. And I don't think that we're going to have people quit asking those questions that are the questions about objective facts about that other person. But with the virtual dates and giving somebody a virtual experience, what you can help them do is just figure out how they're going to feel rather than just checking the box. And you're familiar with behavioral economics, and I think most of your listeners are familiar with behavioral economics as well, right?
That's correct.
And so most people who are listening right now know this distinction between system 1 and system 2, thinking fast and thinking slow. And system 1 is the gut reaction. It's the first responder, and it's emotional, it's quick, it's intuitive. And this is what the experience allows us to discover is our gut reaction, the system 1 reaction to another person. And the search process and the search attributes, that's a system 2 process. So that's the slow, deliberate, analytical, logical, rational. Here's what the perfect guy or perfect girl looks like on paper. But then we're trying to use system 2 process to predict a System 1 experience, and that's where it breaks down.
To your memory, when you were recruiting participants, was one gender more willing to participate in the research than another gender?
My understanding, and I don't know if there's empirical research on this, but my experience and other people I've talked to is that women are always more interested.
And why is that?
Really good question. My guess is that women care more ultimately about dating and about their partners than men do. And I'm sure I've just lost half of your listeners. But the women who are listening right now, when we get together with our closest girlfriends, relationships are such a big part of what we talk about, right? And when women and men evaluate their overall life satisfaction, I think relationships are at the top for everybody in general. And, it's going to come in and out different parts of your life. But women are ones who place a lot more of their focus, of their time and their attention on dating and marriage. And Disney princesses lead us to believe that to ultimately be happy, all we need to do is find Prince Charming, right? Maybe all we need to do is go into a coma and Prince Charming is going to appear. But my understanding, which could be wrong because I'm a woman, is that men don't spend as much time and attention focused on dating and finding the perfect partner as women do.
Well, I'm self-described as a System 2 thinker, but I'm still a male, and I think majority of males, including myself, really rely on System 1.
We all do. But tell me about that. When you say that, what does that mean?
Well, we're quick. We know I'm going to be making a lot of assumptions here. So we're quick. We know what we want. Although we may have an objective thought process, we always still know how we want to get there or what course of action we may want to take, or at least we've narrowed it down to several different courses of action. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, keep going. Give us some juicy details.
Well, okay, give me a topic, and maybe I can use an analogy.
About dating. Say,
Okay.
Real life dating or online dating, either way.
Okay, this is going to be a little challenging for me because I'm a few moons removed from the dating scene. So let's see what I could work up. Okay, so if two individuals were to meet, say one of the individuals is a male, well, obviously we're probably going to use, if we meet, probably using System 1 to make assumptions about that person by visual traits, hair color, makeup style, clothing, what they drive, are they tardy? So you're making a lot of assumptions using System 1. It's not too much objective thinking. But also at the same time, you may be thinking, well, okay, they could be a little late because of this, or they may have chose that outfit because of this. But you still narrowed it down to maybe 2 or 3 different possible scenarios instead of leaving it open to say, well, I don't know.
That's really interesting. And I think online dating, when it first started, served men much better than it served women. And I'm thinking specifically of the Grindr app for gay men. Because this was the pre-Tinder, and I don't know if all your listeners are familiar with Grindr, but this was the predecessor of Tinder for guys, and you see a picture, and you can find a guy in your immediate vicinity, and it was the most successful online dating site or app that had ever been at this point, and I guess must have been the early 2000s, and that was what led to Tinder, which gave everybody, men and women, a quick, easy System 1 way of finding a partner. And now, same-sex couples, heterosexual couples, every flavor of the rainbow, Tinder and apps like that are working much better, and they're much more successful than the traditional sites that I was talking about, where you have these lists to go through, where you're crossing out, finding deal breakers. When you just get to swipe right or swipe left, it's a real System 1 reaction, right? Like hot, 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 not, right? Or not, hot. And I think that women as well as men are really enjoying that. They're having fun, and they're also being more successful at actually getting together with people and experiencing them.
That's super interesting. Are you aware of any organizations that have used your virtual dating research in practice?
I get a lot of questions from online dating kinds of sites. This is what I would love to see in practice, and I'm sure there's some organizations that do it, but I don't know why we're not all doing it, is taking the idea of if the experience of a product or a service or an outcome, if that experience is important. So in dating, it's the experience that we want to have of being with that person, right? Think about with employees. For employees and for the employers, what if we could sample each other before making a commitment? To me, it's completely insane that we make one of the biggest decisions of our lives without having any of this experience with each other. So the interview and hiring process takes so much faith and so much guesswork, where if we could just like Seth Godin is an example of somebody, he's a marketing genius. And when he's thinking of hiring somebody, he hires them for a consulting project so they can sample each other. And he pays them for the consulting project, see how it goes. And that's like having a mini experience of working for Seth Godin, right? So we could create these mini experiences of working for and with each other before we would then say, just based on a couple of conversations and a resume, yes, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to move across the country. I'm going to uproot my family, take my kids out of school, and just on a hope and a prayer, believe that this is going to be a great job before we actually experience it. So that would be my ideal dream come true, taking the virtual dating nuggets of what did we find is that having the experience of something really, really helps before you make a decision or a commitment. And if we could have the experience of working together, I would be super happy.
Well, do you feel that just human emotion, maybe on love or feeling similar to, would void out System 2 thinking?
Well, people do a lot of crazy things when they're falling in love, right? And all of us know people or have been people, I'm both, who have fallen in love with people that really weren't in some pretty objective sense good for us. Because, for example, we weren't actually happy to be with them, didn't feel great about ourselves, and somehow that person had some attractiveness for us. And yes, our hormones just totally short-circuited all of our rational thinking. Have you ever had that experience as a System 2 guy?
No, never. Absolutely not. Of course. Of course. I could think of a handful of times throughout my entire life where I was in love or thought I was in love and made an irrational choice. I'm guilty of probably some things I've researched myself.
Yeah.
I'm as human as a human.
Of course. And I think a lot of the situations in which this happens in business contexts, where you get that emotional brain fry and end up making decisions that we later regret, a lot of that is around scarcity, because scarcity is the System 1 experience that is a threat. And we get this amygdala hijack, and we're reacting with fear and saying, I must have that thing that you're telling me there's a limited time or there's a limited quantity or it's exclusive. And we just feel this insane, irrational, intuitive, gotta have it, right? And this is what infomercials use. And this is why crazy kinds of products get popular. Like, have you ever heard of Kopi Luwak coffee? It's the most expensive coffee in the world.
I don't believe I have.
And now that I'm going to tell you what it is, you're probably never going to drink it. It's $100 a pound, and it comes from Indonesia. And Kopi Luwak coffee is coffee that has passed through the digestive tract of a civet cat and come out on the other side after the cat ate it. What?
I probably would have tried it before you mentioned that part.
Right. And if you tried it before, I'm sure you'd like it. And people who like this coffee, they say, oh, it's so smooth. And the civet cats have such discriminating taste. They only eat the best, ripest, most perfect berries. And somehow it magically comes through their digestive tract, turned into poop, roasted into coffee. I fall for all of this stuff that I study. So I was curious about Kopi Luwak coffee. I tried it, tasted like regular coffee, but it's really just the idea of exclusivity that makes us feel like, we got to have it. And, I teach at Yale, and frankly, that's a lot of the mystique of places like Yale and Harvard, where I went to grad school, where people love anything that's hard to get, right? And in dating, it's a similar kind of thing. So some of my friends at Harvard did an online-ish dating study where they were looking at hard to get. And they had some women sign up to participate, undergrad women, they sign up to participate in the study. And they say, great, send us your Facebook profile, and we're going to share your profile with 3 guys. And then you'll come into the lab, we'll show you their profiles, and you'll tell us what you think of them, and we'll show you what they thought of you. So the women come into the lab, and the researchers give them 3 profiles. And of course, because it's research, that profiles are fake and they're randomized. And in psychology, you're allowed to use a lot of deception that we're not in business schools. So profiles are fake. And what they tell the women is, okay, here's the first guy. Read through his profile. See what you think. This guy likes you. And then with the second one, they say, check out this guy. Read through his profile. See what you think. He likes you a lot. And here's the third guy. Read through his profile. See what you think. And he's not really sure what he feels about you. And so you may guess they read through the profiles, and the first guy is fine. The second guy, they like him even more. They're like, I like people who like me. And then what do you think they think about the third guy? If he's not sure about his feelings.
I don't know.
So rationally, they should be less interested, right? They should be interested in the guy that's really interested. But what happens is he's playing hard to get. And this is this scarcity brain fry thing. And the women are like, oh my God, I love guy number 3.
It's funny you mention that, because last night I was at a New Kids on the Block concert. Don't judge me. And
I totally did.
And I'm just sitting there and I'm observing the human behavior that is happening. And I'm probably one of 10 males in the entire arena. And there are some females, my age and older, that were losing their minds. There would be times when some of the members of the band would be close to the audience, and females my age and older would attempt to climb on the stage, and they have to be held back by security. Wow. So it's interesting. And as I'm sitting there, I'm making notes on my Evernote that I want to research this. I want to see why this behavior is happening, when logically or rationally we know we're not going to climb on that stage and marry the person that's singing. It's just not going to happen. So it's really interesting that you say that, and this happened last night. And it makes me think that maybe we should reframe loss aversion to love aversion.
Oh, that's really funny. Yeah, what are those women thinking?
I don't know. If I can get down there and ask them, I would. But
yeah, and maybe some of it is attention seeking, but it seems like plenty of them would be just as excited, even if they're not on a stage and thousands of people watching them. I went to a Prince concert a while ago, and I was so excited. This was when I was in grad school. And it's a small venue in Vegas, but we were waiting for 2 hours for Prince to come out and start the concert. And we're all standing there, and the excitement is building and building and building for 2 hours. And Prince finally comes out, and I'm so excited. And I say to my friend, oh my God, I'm so excited. I think I'm going to faint, because my heart literally starts racing. And then the woman next to me, a stranger I've never seen before, she faints. She gets knocked out cold as soon as Prince walks out on stage, and they have to take her away on a stretcher. We're so excited by the ideal and the unattainable and massive success, and also all of these other people wanting that thing that we want, right?
Absolutely, because we want what we can't have, and that goes right back to scarcity.
Yeah.
So we're talking with Zoe Chance. We're talking about virtual dating, love, scarcity, loss aversion, maybe even love aversion. We're going to take a quick break. We need to pay some bills.
Are you tired of being confused and frustrated by your business books? Do you want to do your own business bookkeeping but don't know where to begin? I can help. My name is Crystal Wambeck and I am a certified bookkeeper. I'm the creator of the Simple Bookkeeping Program. This online, work at your own pace video course will take you from confused to confident when it comes to your business books. Log into accountingbycrystal.com and sign up today.
Welcome back to Clicksuasion. This is your host, Michael Barbera. We're here today with Zoe Chance. We've been talking about virtual dating, scarcity, loss aversion, and love. Zoe, welcome back to the show. So I know that virtual dating and love is only a small portion of your research. How does virtual dating and love and this research tie into other behavioral economic research that you're currently doing, have done, or looking to do in the future?
Thank you. I'll share first a little bit about something I'm excited to pursue in the virtual world, and then I'll share about a book that I'm working on and an invitation to the members of your audience if they would like to chat with me about what I'm working on now. The current project, this is just in discussion, and it's a dream that I hope is going to happen, but this is bringing virtual reality to the world of persuasion, especially giving people practice asking. And this is with a company called Aversion that is hopefully partnering with Yale Executive Education right now so that we can bring to our executive education participants the experience of virtually doing socially scary things before they actually go out and do them. I've been teaching for the past few years a class MBA elective and workshops for executives called Mastering Influence and Persuasion. And what I was really surprised to learn when I started teaching this class is how difficult it is for people to ask other people for help, for people to ask for resources, for people to ask for especially something like, say, a raise or a promotion, or even asking a stranger for a discount. And the people that I work with are so smart and so successful, and it's so scary to ask that many of the people that I talk to even feel uncomfortable asking a busy bartender for a drink, even though it's their job, and even though they're going to get paid for it, even though they're going to get a tip for it. So when I teach the 7-week boot camp elective, every single week we practice and practice and practice asking in lots of different ways. And it's really scary. And what's going to be really cool, if this project moves forward, is to be able to practice asking with a virtual partner so that then it's much easier to ask with a real partner. And you can think about how great that would be with dating also, right? Especially for men who, if they're heterosexual, are expected to be the askers, expected to be the asker-outers. And there's a lot of pickup artist trainers that are doing a good job of helping guys get through that stage fright and the fear of rejection to go ask women out, and they just need to practice. So I would love to see virtual reality pickup artist training also to help guys through the initial step, and virtual reality asking training, uncomfortable conversation training. And the company Aversion is already helping people with virtual reality practice for uncomfortable conversations, which I think is great.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you give us a pickup line?
Let's see. I myself just improv pickup lines on the spot, and they always work much better, but I'll share with you an on-the-spot line that got me a free drink this weekend, which was, I went to this party, and it was a costume party, and I was wearing all leather, and I was wearing this leather collar with spikes on it, and I went up to the bar, and the bartender says, "So your collar, is that where you attach the leash?" And I said, "Honey, I'm the one who holds the leash." And he gave me a free drink.
quick thinking. That would get you a free drink. I'm sure I wouldn't be able to pull off or replicate that for myself, but it's a good tip for someone else.
I think that canned pickup lines are rarely successful, and it's all in the repartee. I'm a big fan of improv and the idea of accept and add, or yes and. So whatever you get from somebody else, you accept it and then you add to that and toss it back.
Making it semi-authentic, right? Making it personalized, customize it. I can't say that I don't do that with nearly everything.
In the moment. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Zoe, what else is next for you?
I'm really excited about a book that I'm working on right now. It's called, currently, Woo the Gator, and it's about a framework that's as simple as I can possibly create out of all of the research and reading that I've done to help people apply a behavioral economics system 1 mindset to influence. And the idea is system 1 is like your gator brain. It's primordial, it's reactive, it's instantaneous, and it's this inbuilt, like an alligator that we don't have any control over, but we can predict how it's going to react. And if we influence somebody's gator brain or their system 1 process to want to say yes to us, then we can go to the next stage of giving them the rational, logical arguments that can justify in a system 2 fashion the yes that they wanted to say. And just really briefly, because people may be curious, the framework is super simple to remember. It's how do you woo the gator? You give it something to eat, and the E stands for ease, and the A stands for attention, and the T stands for threats. So you make whatever it is you'd like to influence someone to do, make it as easy as possible, get their attention at the right time, in a moment of truth when they'll be most receptive, and handle threats wisely. So it might be that you're trying to diffuse any perception of yourself as a threat. So in a dating situation, if you're a guy approaching a woman, you don't want her to find you threatening. So there are things that you should do to help her feel comfortable. But the scarcity tactic would be the opposite example, where you're actually playing on threat to influence someone to make a decision. And
go ahead.
And I just want to put out there that if anybody is listening right now, this is a long-term project that I've been working with companies and organizations to help them apply behavioral economics to figure out their own nudges and processes. And this really simple EAT framework is kind of new, and I would be happy to have conversations with anybody for free. This is not a consulting pitch, about how you might apply this in your own organization.
Someone might take you up on that. So when should we expect Woovigator to be available?
It will be a year or so.
A year or so. Okay. Why not sooner? Now we're impatient.
I'm working really hard, but I'm slow.
Zoe, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on Clicksuasion. I really enjoyed it. I probably vouch for the listeners and say they probably enjoyed it too. If any of the listeners want to get in contact with you, how could they reach you?
I'm happy to share my email address with your listeners if anybody would like to reach out to me so we can have a conversation. My email address here at Yale is Zoe, Zoe, .chance, CHANCE, at yale.edu. And I'd love to hear from you. I am not a dating coach, but I'm happy to hear from you and share some ideas about how you might apply behavioral economics in your organization. And if some insights from online dating would help you out, well, that would be great too. Thank you, Michael.
No, Zoe, thank you. And I think you might have found a secondary career as a dating coach. Zoe, thanks so much for being here. To the listeners, thanks for listening. Go ahead and subscribe to Clicksuasion on iTunes, Google Play, and at clicksuasion.com, and we'll let you know when the next episode is available.
Thanks for listening to Clicksuasion. Subscribe to the podcast, read our research, and get in touch with us at clicksuasion.com. You can also find us on Twitter with the handle @Clicksuasion.